Captain David Zuilkoski was born June 4th, 1963, in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
At the time, Captain Zuilkoski's father was stationed in Guantanamo Bay working as an intel officer in the Navy, and his mother followed him down there as well. After he graduated high school, Dr. Zuilkoski went to Lock Haven State College for computer science, but didn't show much interest for it. Therefore, he transferred to the Indiana University of Pennsylvania and majored in criminology. However, at the time, there was a hiring freeze, so he began a job at Dairy Queen, which he viewed as a waste of his potential. Captain Zuilkoski said,
I wanted to be an NIS agent. Went through the hiring process, didn't get chosen there, and at the time there was a hiring freeze for federal jobs because I'd like to go FBI or DEA, something like that. But since there was no hiring at the time, I moved back home. I was working part-time at a Dairy Queen, and I'm thinking that there's got to be something better than this.
He then went to a recruiting center and joined the Air Force. Afterwards, Captain Zuilkoski began officer training school at Lackland Air Force Base down in San Antonio, Texas. Following that 12-week program, he immediately went to Security Police School, which was also in Lackland. He also had air-based ground defense training and different munitions and weapons training.
The first base Captain Zuilkoski was stationed was Davis-Monthan Air Base in Tucson, Arizona. He was one of the 5 officers in a squadron of 250 airmen. Captain Zuilkoski was stationed in Tucson for 3 years, and each year had different duties. During his first year, Captain Zuilkoski had to do law enforcement. It was his job to do basic police work around the base. For the second year, he was tasked with air-based ground defense. He had to land with the airplanes and secure the perimeter. In his final year at Davis-Monthan Air Base, Captain Zuilkoski was tasked with base security. Therefore, he was in charge of all assets on the base. During his time in Tucson, Captain Zuilkoski was part of a 44-man flight that ventured down to Howard Air Force Base in Panama prior to Operation Just Cuz. They lived in tents and Quonset huts and provided security as a precautionary measure in case the Panamanian Defense Force decided to enter the base. What was unique about Howard Air Force Base was that a public road ran down the center of the base, which was owned by the Panamanian government. Since they never knew what would be heading down that road, Captain Zuilkoski and his other men provided security in case of an attack. However, Captain Zuilkoski was not present when the invasion of Panama occurred.
The next location Captain Zuilkoski was sent to was in Keflavik, Iceland for a 2-year tour. Up in Keflavik, there was a naval air station where the Air Force also had some resources. His job at the Air Force component on that Navy base was to provide security for the planes and another site he secured. During the winters, there would only be 4 hours of daylight, and during the summer, there was only 4 hours of night. Therefore, it was a bit harder to adjust to the location as well as the culture.
Following Iceland, Captain Zuilkoski was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas, Nevada for the last 2 years of his career. At this base, he was a shift commander in charge of security for a nuclear storage area. Captain Zuilkoski didn't know that this would be his last location that he would be stationed. However, at that time, President Reagan had a troop withdrawal that was put into effect so people could get early outs. Captain Zuilkoski was eligible to take an early retirement, and during this time he was not mentally stimulated by his current job at the base and realized that this was not what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. He went to Pennsylvania to pursue a career in education. Captain Zuilkoski stated,
Of all the jobs, that was probably the least positive. It just wasn't very exciting or mentally stimulating. It just wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my career.
After receiving his teaching degree, Captain Zuilkoski taught high school math at West York High School, and then became an assistant principal there. After that, he was an assistant principal at Dallastown Middle School, and then a principal at Crossroads Middle School in West Shore School District. Next, he was their assistant superintendent, and now he is the superintendent of Eastern Lebanon County High School. Serving in the military gave Captain Zuilkoski a greater appreciation of the freedoms we have in the United States.
I think it gave me a greater appreciation of what we have here in the United States, a greater appreciation of the freedoms we have, because even if you don't agree with something, you can voice that disagreement, where in other countries there's a censorship on that. So I think the ability to challenge the status quo